Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinala. I come to you from the Pacific Northwest, where I live with my partner, our 2 kitties, and 2 adopted Mustangs. Information about the Wildhorse adoption program will be in the episode description box. This podcast covers knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and my other passions like vegetable gardening and bicycling. If you're new here, I hope you find the content interesting. If you're a returning viewer, it's always great to have old friends. The format of this channel typically includes musings on an early walk to the barn to feed the horses, then knitting content, some catch up on the horsemanship journey, and finally more musings or maybe a little bicycling footage if I was lucky enough to get out. Enjoy, and I hope to see you soon. Good morning, friends. Welcome to a more regular episode of this podcast. Today is Friday, February 20th. It's just before 7 a.m. It's starting to get light out. It's cold. It's like 24 degrees. So we had some really nice spring weather that hopefully I got some footage of a walk that Randy and I took when we took a couple days off after our wedding. Just really lovely wetland water walk with a lot of birds, and it was just absolutely lovely. I need to find some heavier gloves. So the week has been good, with a lot of the planning and coordination behind us, from my dad's burial and our wedding. We've kind of settled into a more normal routine. Last week, if you remember, I had a finished object that I didn't get to show you because it was in the soaking tub. Well, it's blocked, it's dry, and I get to show you today. I'm going to wear it. I have a pretty busy day today. And if you're new here, this is always how I start out the podcast. I always say that in the introduction, which I have to change because Randy's now my husband. And he's still my partner, of course, but it's more of that legal partnership, I suppose. In a romantic way, I guess? I don't know. Anyway, we're walking out to the barn to feed the horses. Normally, I would turn the water on, but I usually don't need water first thing in the morning. So I'm going to wait until it warms up. I think it's supposed to warm up to about 40 degrees, and then tomorrow it's supposed to start raining. So anyway, the week. We took a couple days just for a change of scenery. We stayed at a hotel at a casino resort that's not too far from us. Did some shopping at an outlet mall that's pretty popular there, and I shopped the sales, of course, and got a couple pairs of jeans, a shirt that was on clearance, and then a rain jacket that was also on clearance. So pretty good deal. I don't shop very often, and when I do, it's always the sales. Horsemanship wise, not a lot going on. I just still worked with connecting with Bragi, and he's a lot softer this week, a lot more willing to Even when he gets afraid of something and wants to run out of his stall, he's a lot more willing to follow me back. So I think that's a success. Odin, I'd still been working on his physical therapy for his arthritis. I need to get back to that. The farrier's coming this morning, and then my trainer is also coming, that I assume we're going to work on trailer loading, which means I need to hook my truck and trailer up this morning after I run some errands and then catch up with my supervisor for a bit. So that's kind of the high level summary for the week. Probably light enough you can see O and Bragi. Because he's a dark bay, he's still not always easy to see, but he's out there. Good boys. Yeah, I heard that. Did you hear Odin kind of whinny a little bit or nicker? It's very cute. He's very hungry for breakfast. So I'm going to get to feeding. Hey friends, thought I would take you with me on a couple errands. I'm wearing a lot of knitted items, including the Talvinen, which I will show you later. I'm also wearing this hat that's a self-drafted hat that's sort of loosely based off the Musselburgh hat, so it's double layer. I am also wearing this cowl. This is the Cryptid cowl by Pacific Knit Co. And I am wearing some mittens that Carrie, I think you will recognize. So this was the yarn that you gave me as a feel sorry for me pity party prize or something when I dislocated my shoulder. So yeah, it's cold enough to wear all of these things. So I'm gonna get to running errands and I'll catch up with you soon. Good morning, friends. Today is Saturday, February 21st. I had a really busy day yesterday, so I did not get back to podcasting. I'll tell you about it here in a minute, but let's talk about what I'm wearing. So I'm wearing the Talvinen. I think I showed it to you when I was on my way to run an errand yesterday morning. Let me see if I can pick this up so I can show you. Yeah, it's kind of hard. My arms just aren't quite long enough. But it fits really well. I really like it. The sleeves are just above my wrist, which I really like. And it just turned out great. And I mentioned in the last episode when I was still blocking it that I had used a smaller needle for one sleeve. I think it was the sleeve, but honestly, I wouldn't have noticed. So all my notes are in my Ravelry project page, which are in the description box below. Let me see if I can get this camera to straighten up here. Okay, that looks a little better. Now you can focus on the Talvinen, the Finnish, as in Finland, soul bird. So, yesterday. So where we left off yesterday, I was running an errand and I wanted to share some of the knitwear that I was wearing yesterday because it was very cold. It's quite a bit warmer today. I was wearing the Cryptid cowl, which I put that project page in my show notes as well. And of course, hand knitted socks and some mittens that I made from yarn that Carrie of My Wool Mitten gave to me. So, and a hat, of course. So I went to the store, I went to the feed store and got some hay. And then after that, I decided that I was going to get a real load of hay because yesterday was the last afternoon that it was going to be dry for a while. I did have to work a little bit yesterday, so I did that. And then the rest of the day got very busy. And I'll talk about that more in the life stuff, but let's talk about knitting, shall we? So I am getting very close to finishing the Valenvent socks. So this is the second sock. Using a self-striping yarn for the main color, and that is Freckled Whimsey, Happy Pinkoween. And then for this colorwork section, I used a peony, and then I can't remember what this the yellowish colorway is, but that is from leftover yarn from the So Faded Tea that I made. Really fun pattern. This was the Valenvent project by the Bakery Bears, and if you have been following the Bakery Bears, you know that Mr. Bakery Bear, Dan Jones, passed away very recently, like within the last week. It seemed rather sudden. I know he had a serious illness at the end of 2025, and then it just progressed so quickly, and I can't believe that Kay Jones is a widow at, I think she's in her mid-50s, and Dan, I believe, had just turned 50, so tragic. They have a ton of podcasts. If you're looking for a podcast, it's, on YouTube, so the Bakery Bears. So show some love to our knitting community, and if you are up for it, KF Jones on Ravelry has a ton of sock patterns and shawls and cowls. So if you need a new sock pattern, highly recommend her sock patterns. They're very well written. This one I believe is a patron only, so probably not for sale. This is called Reflected Love. I am using Chowgu Twists, the 9-inch circulars, in I believe a 1.5 or maybe a 1.25. It's in my show notes, but what I do know is that I used a US size 3 for the colorwork section, and it meets all my needs. It's not too grabby and tight, and it works, but I used a whole needle size bigger for that. This is in a bag made by my mom. It was a Christmas present, so quilted bag with some batik fabric on the inside. So what am I going to cast on next? Well, I don't know. I need to work on, right now everything I'm working on is fairly plain knitting, so I am going to have to work on something that is a little bit less round and round. So this project in this bag, made by my husband, he has an industrial sewing machine, and it's from this book called Knit Happy with Self-Striping Yarn by Stephanie Lotven, and it is the Sock Arms cardigan. So I decided to make it a pullover, and I decided to do this under the arms, which means it is going to have this section, which I think I am going to do like, I'm going to pick up stitches and do ribbing. So it's kind of a V-neck, maybe even an overlapping V-neck, like a cardigan would be. But I decided I just didn't want to knit back and forth. I wanted to knit in stockinette. So that's what I did. So I think the sleeves will be in I'll show that in a minute, the self-striping yarn, and the neckband, the ribbing around the neckband will be, I think, in that contrast color as well. So this main color is the colorway Clarity from Knit Picks Gloss. It's a fingering weight yarn. It's a very pretty light blue. And then this is the contrast color. It's Jeepers Creepers, also by Freckled Whimsey. So I should have enough for the arms and the ribbing around the neck. So that's that project. I accidentally cast on this project and did the whole yoke in a US size 3. The pattern calls for a US size 4. So once I started doing the main body of the sweater, I switched to US size 4, and I used Chowgu red lace. And I do have a new cast on. So some of my projects are still kind of in hibernation. But I cast on the Melt the Ice hat. This is a Norwegian protest hat pattern. It's ribbed. The needle size is, I used a US size 5, even though the pattern calls for a US size 4, because I have kind of a small head and a loose gauge. But this is a pattern by Paul Neary, and it says, in the 1940s, Norwegians made and wore red pointed hats with a tassel as a form of visual protest against Nazi occupation of their country. Within 2 years, the Nazis made these protest hats illegal and punishable by law to wear, make, or distribute. As a purveyor of traditional craft, we felt it appropriate to revisit this design. So it's a fun, easy, very easy pattern. So it's 6 inches of ribbing. I'm using a DK weight yarn by Legacy Fiber Arts, and it's a special colorway called Resist. And the proceeds, a certain percentage of proceeds go to an immigration help center. I think it's a legal help center. So having a lot of fun with that. But again, everything I have on the needles right now is plain knitting. So that means I need to revisit some projects like the Summer Lee socks, the Surf Wax socks. It has kind of a chevron shape. So as soon as I finish the Reflected Love socks, the Valenvent socks, I'll pick those up again. And I have a whole list of projects. I'm aware that I have something else in hibernation too, but I have to look at my notes for that. I also I'm still working on my, looking over here because the project's over there, the 100 Acre Wood Blanket, which is also a pattern by Kay Jones. And the Purr-fect Colorwork socks by Charlotte Stone. Those are also in hibernation, and they are perfect because they have kitty cat designs. So back to, that's really the end of the knitting portion. So if you don't want to hear about the rest of the week, that's great. And I will see you next time. But for those of you who are perhaps working on a project or something and want just more time to knit or crochet or needlepoint, whatever you're working on, I will carry on. So yesterday after my meeting, I decided somewhat suddenly that I wanted to get a load of hay and take advantage of the nice weather, which meant I had to clean up all the old hay in my barn and get everything ready. So that was a pretty big job, but I got that done, and then my farrier came and trimmed both my horse's hooves. And Bragi has just been really soft and very engaged lately, so super proud of him. And then when my farrier was finishing up with Odin, my trainer came. And since Bragi was already done, she was able to go work with him. And at first, it was kind of funny. At first, he protested about putting his halter on because he was like, hey, I already did that today. But she worked with him and got him paying attention to her and paying attention to what she was asking. And then after my farrier left, we took him up to the front yard where my horse trailer is, and he got in the horse trailer, and he's a champ. Even when this is what has been notable progress with him, is that even when he is afraid of something, he's doing a much better job of looking back to either me or my trainer, whoever is handling him, for an answer. So he's starting to use his thinking brain a lot more than his reactive brain, which gives me a lot of high hopes. So he did that really well, and so we're feeling very confident that the next step for him is to just drive the loop around the driveway with him in the trailer, because that's going to be something very different for him. So we'll have that next week. We'll get all set up for that. And then go from there. And we may take him to a local clinic. I don't know very much about the clinician, and I don't have the information yet, so I will share that as the details come. Odin has been on a diet, but it hasn't been working because the hay cubes that I've been giving him have alfalfa in them, and alfalfa is just a higher calorie dense food, so I'm going to have to rethink that. After my trainer was finished, I went up and got hay. So I got a Timothy orchard grass mix from a local grower and brought that home. And I have not handled that many bales of hay. I got 26 bales total, and I have not handled that many bales of hay by myself since I injured my shoulders last year. So all of last year, I really did not move any bales. So, and the process is I have to unload the bales from the horse trailer, put it in the little lawnmower wagon, which will hold 5 bales, and then go up to the barn. So that took like 5 trips, not counting the 3 bales that I dropped and had to pick up again. So maybe it was 6 trips up to the barn and unload. And, you know, just kudos to Bragi. I mean, neither of the horses like it when I pull the lawn tractor into the barn. And, but both of them got less reactive as time went on. And by the time I was done unloading hay and I picked up a load of firewood from the west side of the barn and brought that up to the house and unloaded it, I was pretty tired. So that was really, really kind of the day and the week. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to cast on. Well, I need to finish my whips, but I have a whole list in my show notes, I have a whole list of scrap down plans with patterns associated with yarn. And maybe you have, if you follow Arnie and Carlos, you have seen the Year of the Firehorse mittens pattern. I'm pretty sure I'm going to order that. It's pretty cool. It's colorwork mittens. So I'm pretty confident I have yarn in my stash for that. So I am going to look for that and dream about more knitting plans. So that's all I have for this episode. So I hope I am able to include some of the walking that Randy and I did last weekend at the estuary. And excuse me, I have the hiccups again. So take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.